Welcome back to Hope is Kindled, a podcast where we explore great literature as a map to understanding ourselves, the world, and the enduring questions of the human condition. I promise to keep digressions to a minimum, though it might be harder in this case. I know that we are not here to break down each work until it's an academic husk. We're here to reflect briefly, earnestly, on the vital, often painful truths embedded in great literature. Truths that help us live better, or at least more honestly. Because some of these stories, well, they burn. They unsettle. They unmake. And then, somehow, they show us how to go on. Some of these works are life-altering. You might pick one up, read it, and find that your perceptions of reality, the way you relate to others, or your very way of thinking will never be the same. But, as Rob Zombie once said, art is not safe. And, as the bookseller from The Never-Ending Story might agree, some of these books are not safe either. This is what makes truly good writing so important. It possesses the power to change perspectives, and thereby, the power to change the world. There is no substitute for reading them yourself. I won't capture every nuance, every heartbreak. But I hope to offer something like a spark, a question, or maybe just company in the dark. Today's journey takes us into the heart of what I believe is one of the most dangerous books I have ever encountered. It is a masterpiece that should be regarded with extreme caution. It is a story so cathartic that it sent me on a profound detour, altering the course of my life. I am speaking, of course, of none other than The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, which is truly a cautionary tale of beauty, desire, friendship, and the slow, haunting erosion of the soul. This book changed my life when I first read it. I was young, impressionable, and like Dorian, captivated by the words of Lord Henry, whose wit and philosophy, that we should live for sensation, beauty, and experience, seduced me. And, for a time, I followed those ideas. I made decisions that led to suffering, and decisions that altered the course of my life. While I do not regret the road I took, it was not an easy one. This novel shaped me more than I ever expected, and it's why I return to it now, with a fuller heart and more caution in my voice.
We live in the flicker may it last as long as the old earth keeps rolling. But darkness was here yesterday. We live as we dream alone. While the dream disappears, the life continues painfully.
That quote by Joseph Conrad lingers from our previous episode as we step into Wilde's decadent and dazzling world. It is a world where the dream of beauty leads to nightmare, a world where a single influence can reroute an entire soul. The Picture of Dorian Gray was first published in 1890 and caused immediate controversy. Victorian society bristled at Wilde's suggestions about aestheticism, morality, and desire. In the preface, Wilde famously wrote,
There is no such thing as a moral or an immoral book. Books are well written or badly written, that is all.
This declaration of art for art's sake sets the tone. But make no mistake, The Picture of Dorian Gray is a profoundly moral book. Not because it tells you what to think, but because it shows you what can happen when morality is abandoned. Wilde writes,
The artist is the creator of beautiful things. To reveal art and conceal the artist is art's aim. Those who find beautiful meanings in beautiful things are the cultivated. For these there is hope.
Hope is possible, but fragile. Wilde's novel is a masterclass in elegance and irony. He cloaks horror in beauty, and that's the point.
Behind every exquisite thing that existed, there was something tragic.
Dorian lives a life of indulgence, but it costs him his soul. In one chilling line, Lord Henry says,
You will always be fond of me. I represent to you all the sins you have never had the courage to commit.
And yet it's Dorian who bears the consequences. His portrait, hidden away, reveals the truth, the growing corruption of his spirit. At one point, Dorian confesses, experience was of no ethical value. It was merely the name men gave to their mistakes. Even when he seeks redemption, it's only for appearance's sake. He tries to be good, but only to see if the portrait will change. It doesn't, because the change has to come from within, and it never does. Wilde's novel has left a profound legacy. Countless books and films echo its themes: Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Fight Club, American Psycho. The very idea of a split between who we are and who we appear to be, that's Dorian Gray. And I have to say, I am very fond of the classic film adaptation. George Sanders, as Lord Henry, is sublime. His voice, his delivery, he is Lord Henry. Every time it's on, my friend Sharon calls. We share a quiet reverence for that film and its source material. It's not just nostalgia. It's respect for a story that won't let go of your conscience. At the heart of the novel are three men: Basil Hallward, Lord Henry Wotton, and Dorian Gray. Basil is the painter, the moral conscience of the story. He genuinely loves Dorian, not just as a muse, but as a person. Lord Henry, on the other hand, is the Mephistopheles figure, witty, seductive, corrosive. He infects Dorian with dangerous ideas, telling him the following in Chapter 2.
The only way to get rid of a temptation is to yield to it.
And later, one of the most dangerous quotes.
Live. Live the wonderful life that is in you. Let nothing be lost upon you. Be always searching for new sensations.
Lord Henry doesn't follow this philosophy himself. He plays the role of provocateur while living within the boundaries of society. Dorian, however, follows the advice to the letter and pays dearly for it. The tragedy is clearest in the friendships. Basil truly cares for Dorian and is murdered by him. Lord Henry poisons Dorian with his words and walks away untouched. Between Basil and Lord Henry is a disappointed relationship, unspoken tension, and ultimately, betrayal. Reading Wilde's novel years later, I couldn't help but think of On the Road, which we examined previously. In that novel, it's Sal who cares for Dean Moriarty, who is taken in, over and over, by Dean's charm, chaos, and cruelty. And it's Carlo Marx, like Lord Henry, who encourages Dean's wildness from a safe distance. Lord Henry is Carlo. Dorian is Dean. Basil is Sal. Both stories explore the cost of charisma and the pain of misplaced devotion. Both warn against the glamour of selfishness disguised as freedom. Dorian begins as a boy with potential. But under the influence of Lord Henry, he becomes something monstrous. What makes the novel brilliant and disturbing is that he remains beautiful on the outside. His sins appear only on the hidden portrait. In Chapter 19, Lord Henry remarks,
"The books that the world calls immoral are books that show the world its own shame."
He's right. And The Picture of Dorian Gray is such a book. Here are some of Wilde's most piercing insights.
Behind every exquisite thing that existed, there was something tragic. Experience was of no ethical value. It was merely the name men gave to their mistakes. You will always be fond of me. I represent to you all the sins you have never had the courage to commit. Iconit.
He's right. And The Picture of Dorian Gray is such a book. The lines within expose the soul of a culture obsessed with surface and terrified of truth. The novel has inspired countless adaptations and retellings. From films and plays to psychological thrillers and pop culture icons, Dorian's legacy endures. Honestly, what I love most about Dorian Gray is its style. Wilde's prose sparkles, even when describing the darkest aspects of the soul. Every page is a paradox, a beautiful warning. Oscar Wilde was a genius, a wit, and a martyr of aestheticism. Born in 1854 in Dublin, he rose to fame with his plays, poetry, and prose. However, his life was cut short by scandal. He imprisoned for homosexuality in Victorian England. He was exiled and humiliated. Dorian Gray reflects Wilde's life, the double existence, the mask, the forbidden desires, the longing for beauty, and the cost of indulgence. I did not know what Oscar Wilde was forced to endure when I first read the novel. Having learned more about him, the book seems less dangerous and more imbued with strength, the strength of a voice needing to be heard, of a man who had to endure wrongful persecution. For young or new readers, this book offers a mirror. What do you value? What will you trade for the things you desire? Whose voices shape your choices? For new readers, especially young ones, this is a cautionary tale. It speaks directly to the temptation to trade integrity for beauty, sensation, or social praise. Be cautious of those who speak beautifully but live carelessly. Be wary of ideas that promise freedom without responsibility. And be mindful of influence, because sometimes the people who claim to love you are really in love with what they can make you become. Lord Henry masks cruelty and elegance, but beneath the wit is rot. This novel reminds that living for sensation alone will hollow you out. This novel is not about beauty, it's about the soul. Dorian's downfall is not aesthetic, it's ethical. The painting changes not because he sins, but because he sins and refuses to repent. When I first read this book, I was in a moment of flux. I was searching for answers. I heard Lord Henry's voice and believed it. I believed that I had not lived enough or seen enough. I believed that I was getting boxed in, and I would never live. I followed the path he laid out. I took his advice too seriously. And though I've grown since then, and learned to question, I still carry the marks of those early choices. I still mourn the losses. I threw away love and kindness from people who mattered, from someone who truly mattered, much like Dorian does with Basil, and I paid the price. Pain. Mistakes. I am still paying the price, because I cannot go back, and can never get back that lost time. But the experience taught me something that books like this were meant to teach, that beauty without truth is a trap. That experience without love is a wasteland. That the soul matters more than the face in the mirror. It was not an easy road, but it was mine. And I've come to see the picture of Dorian Gray not just as a novel of decadence, but as a spiritual warning. The soul matters. Influence matters. Every choice leaves a mark whether the world sees it or not. This podcast is called Hope is Kindled, not because literature is always light, but because it leads us through the darkness. Wilde's novel is a mirror, and if you dare to look, really look, it might just save you. As Wilde himself wrote,
Conscience and cowardice are really the same things. Conscience is the trade name of the fam. Those who find beautiful meanings in beautiful things are the cultivated. For these there is hope.
Of Dorian Gray. It's no small feat to walk through Wilde's gilded halls of wit and shadow, where every epigram glitters like a dagger and every smile hides a secret. You stayed with us through the velvet and the venom, the portraits and the pretense, and for that, we raise a glass of something dangerously alluring in your honor. May you be among the cultivated, those who seek depth over decoration, who value meaning over mere pleasure. May you guard your soul as carefully as you polish your image. Because in a world of masks, the soul is still the most sacred mirror. In our next episode, we turn to another literary wonder, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. A tale stitched together with ambition and agony, morality and monstrosity. We'll ask hard questions of the creator, of the creature, and of ourselves. Until then, don't forget what Rob Zombie said about art, and thank you for listening. Hold fast to the truth. Choose your influences wisely. And as always, good journey.